In fact, right after he became president, he liked on Facebook something that I wrote titled it Travesty and Abomination, and it said exactly that, and told him if he wants to become a great president, then that's exactly what he would do. He'll put the family court racket out of business. He would automatically become one of the greatest presidents in this country's history if he did that. And he can do it very easily. I told him right there in what I wrote, he can have a 20-minute meeting with his attorney general, who now is William Barr, and the director of the FBI, who is Christopher Wray, and point blank tell them, said, look, I've got boxes, and I know he does have boxes and boxes of complaints from people all over this country about their rights being violated in these so-called family courts. I want you to go after these judges who are violating their rights. I want them to be indicted and prosecuted, and I want you to begin that process as soon as you walk out of this Oval Office. And we're going to meet again next week, same time, same station, and I want to know how many indictments you've issued. So I want you guys to get cracking. That wouldn't take him more than 20 minutes, and that would put the ball in rolling. That would get the whole thing going. And then you may know, March of last year, I was asked to write a proposed executive order for presentation to Donald Trump. He hasn't signed it yet, but if he does, that will put it out of business, because it clearly states that what has happened. These judges have not been prosecuted or held accountable for their actions because the judges over them have protected them. It's like the mafia, with the crooks protecting the crooks. Mm-hmm. Well, that executive order says that if these judges over them engage in dereliction of duty, obstruction of justice, malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance, they're going to be prosecuted. Well, so they won't protect them anymore. They're just going to throw them to the wolves.
I'm only aware, Don, of one judge recently that's been charged with child sex trafficking. That's Judge Tim Nolan. And just to give an example of some of these crimes that were committed over a 50-year time span, 22 total victims, 8 child victims, 28 felonies, sodomy, child rape. He faces 100 years, and these are for crimes that go 50 years back. But we know, Don, that this is a lot more prevalent than just one judge.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they're all over the country. Now, I don't know that most of the judges who have committed these felonies against the American people have engaged in, child rape or sodomy or anything like that. But they don't have to entitle themselves to a prison sentence. If they violate a due process of law, if they deny a jury trial to a litigant who lets it be known that he wants one, or if they impose an illicit gag order against them, that's a Second Amendment. It's against the right of free speech. That curtails or interferes with their right of free speech. And gag orders essentially, to be legitimate, are something that protects national security. For instance, like military secrets or something like that. The reason that they impose these First Amendment, the reason that they impose these gag orders against the people is they don't want the word to get out about what they're doing. They want to keep a lid on it. Mm. They don't want people to know. They don't want the public to know that they're committing crimes in these courtrooms that the people are paying for. That's the reason they're issuing these illicit gag orders. So there are plenty of crimes that they can be charged with, and most of these cases, or a lot of them anyway, are slam dunks. Even the rookie prosecutor could get these people convicted, because, like, the denial of jury trials frequently is right in the cold record. It's in black and white, and a lot of these people in this movement are savvy enough to file these demands, into their case, and have them, file stamped, and have 3 or 4 copies made. The clerk puts one of them into their file, and they keep the other ones. They've got notarized copies right there. Mm-hmm. And so if these crooks go in and clean out the files, the citizens have it, file stamp copy. And then a lot of times these judges, is right there in writing, they say you cannot have a jury trial in family court. That's wrong. So there's a lot of judges that should be going to prison. Now, I haven't heard anything in the last couple of months, but this was a very, very rapidly growing figure. The last I heard was 2 or 3 months ago that there were 87,000 sealed indictments. And I heard that at that time there were 1,000 of them already in Gitmo, in Guantanamo, and that some of them are CPS judges. I personally think it would be very nice if this came out. I'd like to write about it. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see it widely reported. I bet you would too.
Yeah, I would. But like I said earlier, we need convictions and indictments. We need unsealed. We need those
indictments? Sealed indictments?
Yeah, unsealed.
Yeah, now here's, I thought about this a few months ago. Because that proposed executive order was, widely endorsed by thousands of family rights activists, not just people on the street. Mm-hmm. And I thought, why did he not sign that? Because there's a sense that he was shown that probably within 48 hours of the last keystroke that I typed on it. And because about a week later, I heard from a lady who's very politically connected that the people in Washington were miffed because they didn't write it. So that Trump saw that. And so I thought, why wouldn't he sign it? And so I got to thinking, I could easily see this scenario could have taken place. He got there and said, well, this is really interesting, and maybe asked his legal people, well, no, exactly what's the purpose or effect of this if I sign it? Well, so we're going to put these crooked judges in prison and some of their accomplices also. And then he might say, well, and that's for violating people's rights, correct? And they say yes. They said, well, can that be done without me signing this executive order? Because the Democrats and this liberal media are going to scream bloody murder if I do sign it. And they were so sure. Yeah, you can just, bring these charges against these people. And I think that might be what he's done. 87,000 sealed indictments, and the way it was growing, it's probably over 100,000 now. That's a lot of indictments, and he's certainly up to something, that's for sure. And I think I know someone said what they think is he's, in essence, taken out a lot of the state judiciary, because there's so much corruption in the judicial branch in this country, which has perpetuated the problem.
Well, that's one of the issues, if I may. That's one of the issues is, I don't participate in debating the judicial process within the family court and juvenile court system, because I feel like personally it's operating exactly the way they designed it, and it's criminal, and I just don't see the point, Don. I think we need to come up with maybe a 5-point strategy.
Okay. Are you going to submit some of the points?
I am. I would like to read them to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, and I would suggest that you could become the clearinghouse for this. I'm sure that I can think of some, and you combine with yours, and then some of the people who are listening. I'm sure we've got some pretty smart cookies out there who could come up with some really good ideas.
I know we do, and I think it's really good if instead of debating the corruption, because we're all very well educated in the corruption, we've all been a victim of it to some extent, and we started being more proactive, I like your idea, and I definitely want to participate. So I'm going to go ahead and read off. I have 3 suggestions.
Okay.
One is to enforce the 4th Amendment, which says that a warrant, court order, must be issued with a basis of an evidence and a affidavit, or emergency circumstances are needed before seizing any property or person. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Number 2, require actual evidence, not just hearsay, not things that people are saying, not gossip, not allow the parents the right to due process and the ability to produce evidence of their innocence if it exists. Okay? And number 3 is transparency. Stop the unconstitutional gag orders on parents and the twisting of the confidentiality laws to bully victims of DHR, CPS, DSFS, DCS, corruption into silence, and shroud the unethical and often illegal acts by officials by a veil of secrecy. So that's my 3 contributions.
Right, yeah. You and I have very similar points of view in regard to that. The criminality in the so-called family courts is absolutely rampant. And so now, what I want to encourage people to do right now is, see, we have, as I see it, we have a pretty short window of opportunity. This is a presidential election year, which doesn't happen all the time. At this time, we've probably got maybe another 3 months to get these politicians to recognize this gigantic problem as a political issue. And there are very few problems that cannot be solved. I believe that we can get this issue into the political discourse. So I would like to see us come up with some suggestions on how we can do that at this time, because we don't want to waste any more weeks.
I agree. I'm sending over, I was just now messengering you over my list, my 3 my 3 suggestions. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to make this the number 1 issue. Immunity, human trafficking, and fraud on the court isn't just occurring on American soil. It's occurring at our borders, but it's not just happening to families at our borders or families here on American soil. There's 24 displaced American children on American soil because of the corruption. But it's happening in other countries too, folks. There's a branch of CPS, Child Protective Services, on every military base that we have globally. So this is a global plague on humanity. And it's not working in the best interest of the children. It's a disservice to the people. And so my goal is I'm on a panel called Human 2020, and I would like to bring to light the issue of immunity human trafficking.
Okay, no, let me say this. From what I read over and over is that they're taking through the racket 400,000 American children from their parents, their homes, their families every year. And research has shown, and I know who did it, and the team of people who did that research has shown that 85% of the parents from whom the children are taken are fit parents, not unfit parents. So this would be horrible if it happened to one kid, but 85% of 400,000 is 340,000 American children every year that are wrongfully taken from their parents, from their families, from their homes. And here's what happens. The CPS worker will take a cop, 1 or 2 cops out to the home of this family, and they will grab the kids and haul them off kicking and screaming. And what that is an arrest of that child. That child has not been charged with any crimes. That